one of the things that, for me, that have brought great joy to my life is when I've gone on wilderness trips with, and as a volunteer with, the kids, 8th graders, 9th graders, those kinds of things. And I've done several of them over the years, and every single time it's been challenging, and it's been absolutely wonderful. And it's some of the times when I've felt most alive and most present, and I have my particular talent is the talent of versatility. And so I'm a very valuable commodity to have on these trips because I can do a lot of different things. I can't do any one single thing like over the top, but I can do a lot of things, and so I'm very useful. They can give me lots of assignments and I can take care of them. And so you're serving. And so that sort of fed into this whole Peace Corps idea. And so I thought, okay, I'm not in a position right now to be able to do something like that in my life. I've got kids going to college. You kind of go through the laundry list of what it is that's going on. However, there will be a point down the road when I will be able to do that. And so I'm an Aries. And, the motto of an Aries is ready, fire, aim, right? Okay. And so my tendency is to be a little bit impulsive, in my life. And so I have enough history in my life that I understand that hasn't always shown up in the highest and best for everybody around me. And so I started to look at that, and I thought, okay, if I want to serve in that way, if I want to do something that is meaningful, that makes a difference, then I have to do it in the context of how it shows up with the rest of my life, with the rest of the people in my life, my responsibilities and things that I enjoy doing. And so I decided to set a goal. And my goal is at age 70, which isn't all that far away, age 70, that I'm going to, all things being equal, going to apply for the Peace Corps and see if I can't go out and engage in that sort of thing. What better thing could one do in their golden years than to kind of start that period of life off, than to do something meaningful? Now, you don't have to go 6,000 miles away to do that. The Peace Corps does a lot of different things in a lot of different places, so it doesn't mean that you're going to be backpacking, in the Himalayas or something, trying to help a tribe in the cold. There are lots of different places to go and things to do, and they assign you appropriate things. But once I set that goal, it's interesting how other things show up in your life. Because a close friend of mine, who's part of my men's group, Dr. Carl Weirich, he's the one that started this Coffee Rwanda thing that we were doing a while back. We were selling bags of coffee. So, he's very involved in Rwanda. And he more or less adopted a tribe of 150 pygmies who were displaced. They actually declared some parts of Rwanda as game preserves. And so those places that they turned into game preserves, they moved the pygmies that's where they lived, and they hunted, and that was their land. So they moved them to lands that weren't very productive. They're not the best lands. You know how that goes. And they moved them to those lands, and of course they've been struggling and barely surviving and haven't been eating enough and all the stuff. And he got involved with them a couple of years ago, and he's been little by little sort of organizing different things and going over there. And they've accomplished a lot with them. They've gotten uniforms for all the kids and shoes for the kids so they can go to school, because they have to have a uniform and shoes in order to educate. One of the kids is in the top 1% of their class in school now. They've made sure that all of the people learned about hygiene, how to wash your hands, and so they've lowered the incidence of disease dramatically just from some simple little things being involved in their life. They took them a long time to be engaged with it, but it's a process. Well, he's over there right now for a month, and he actually asked me to go with him for a month, and he waited too long because I couldn't organize my life to do it that quickly. But he's over there for a month, and he took a team of engineers. They're building a well so that they can get fresh drinking water, because right now they have to walk all the way down this long bank to the river, and they're taking water straight out of the river, whereas they could get groundwater that would be much cleaner and healthier, and so on and so forth. So they're doing that kind of stuff, and they're also looking for other tribes where they can get involved in that. And he's invited me to go to on the next trip over there, which would be a shorter trip, probably later on this year or the first part of next year. And so by having set out that intention, other things show up to give us an opportunity to engage in life in a way that we can bring forth that which we desire to do or how we want to serve in the world. And what a great experience to have in order to get into the mindset that will show up once my goal, once I reach my goal, because it'll come quickly. You know, time travels. The older you get, the faster it goes. And it just moves so quickly, I just know how quick it'll be. So serving is more than deciding just to be helpful, as important as that is. It is something in which we engage our whole being, in our heart, our physical body, our energy, our thoughts, our creative mind, our ideas. It is a way of thinking and living. Last week I watched John Adams. The series, we rented the DVD series from HBO, and over the 4th of July, I mentioned this last Sunday, we watched the John Adams thing. It was great thing to watch on the 4th of July. But there were a lot of different themes that were kind of flowing through this, and so much of that whole revolutionary thing was about sacrifice and duty and engaging in that context with our country and the founding of our country. And so here's John Adams, he's involved in this, signs the Declaration of Independence, and he's, his best friend is his wife Abigail, and she's his most closest advisor. And so they sign the Declaration of Independence, and he gets asked to go to France to help Ben Franklin, who's in France. And so he goes to France, and he takes his son John Quincy with him. They go across, it's now winter time when he heads over there, and they go across on a ship, and how long does it take? 3 months or however long it took that time. He went to France. Well, he spent the entire Revolutionary War in France trying to do, and he was frustrated the whole time. The culture just completely was off the wall for his whole mindset and the way he thought. And he was separated from his wife, best friend, advisor. He was so frustrated that he didn't even write her. He was separated from his other 3 children. He brought John Quincy with him, and about several months into it, he ends up sending John Quincy, who's 14 years old, to St. Petersburg, Russia, with an envoy to be his secretary. So he's separated from his son, John Quincy, who goes to St. Petersburg. And so there he is. And so nobody's happy. He's not doing the work he loves to do, and nobody's happy. Well, the war comes to a conclusion finally. Well, rather than go home, he's asked to stay. And his sense of duty is so ingrained that he stays. Only this time he sends for his wife, so Abigail comes, only they leave the kids home in boarding schools. So she comes, and they spend the next several years in France and then in England, not going home, not seeing the kids, and the family comes back together several years later when the kids are grown and they haven't seen them for years. So here is this process. Now, this is a different culture. I was thinking, am I judging them? No, I'm trying to understand kind of the mindset and what's going on. But it's a good backdrop for how it is that we can get caught up in the process of serving and not thinking about how it's impacting our life. Because later on, he has several tragedies that show up that can very much be traced back to the fact that they weren't present in their children's lives when they were growing up.